Good evening. Thank you for being here with us on Mas con Mas. I am your host, Raul Mas. I appreciate you taking time out from your busy schedule to spend some time with us and review the events of the week. We've got two very interesting individuals that we're going to be interviewing later on in the program. I think you'll enjoy them. One is Yichao Chang from San Francisco, California, talking to us about what's going on with all the crazy events on the West Coast. And we also have attorney Tom Spencer, who's going to be reviewing the latest Supreme Court decision regarding abortion providers in Louisiana and other issues that are popping up on the court's calendar. Before we do that, before we get into the reviewing the events of the week, I want to thank our sponsors, Youngevity. I want to thank Café Cachita, and I want to thank Grimal Joyeria, Grimal Jewelers, for sponsoring this program. Without their support, we couldn't be here, and really appreciate their continuing to sponsor this program. Let's start with what's been going on throughout the U.S. One of the things that caught my eye, and I think all of you have seen it, is that finally, after several weeks, apparently the so-called Summer of Love has come to an end in Seattle, and Mayor Jenny Durkan has ordered the Seattle police to basically dismantle the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone.
Disperse the area now.
The so-called Chaz or CHOP, it's gone by different names, but this group of protesters who took over a section of the city set up barriers. The very first thing they did was put up some walls and basically declared it an independent state from the rest of the state, the rest of the United States, the city of Seattle, and basically set about creating a commune of some sort. But in my mind, this just goes to show, once again, the hypocrisy of the left. So long as it doesn't affect them, they can root and burn and protest and riot and do whatever the heck they want. But when they come knocking on my door, when they come looking into my neighborhood, all of a sudden things change. And that's exactly what happened here. We're seeing this kind of stuff going on, throughout the country, where mayors are looking to basically, looking the other way as these protests are taking place in their city, as buildings and properties are being burned to the ground. They don't care. I mean, so long as it doesn't affect them personally, they're willing to go along with it. And I think they're willing to go along with it because I think if you look in most of these cases, we're looking at Democratic states, Democratic governors, all of whom are dead set on one thing and one thing only, and that is basically getting rid of Donald Trump come November. And all this chaos that you're seeing on the streets of America play into their objective of making the president look bad, of creating this sense of turmoil in America. I think, quite frankly, it's going to blow up in their face. There are a lot of people in America who have great sympathy for what, the murder of George Floyd, what happened to that individual, to what's happened to the African American community during decades in America. But those same people are not okay with the rioting. They are not okay with burning private property. They are not okay with allowing independent zones or autonomous zones to be set up in their own backyard. They're horrified at the scenes of that couple in St. Louis that found themselves, at home. Suddenly, literally dozens and dozens of protesters start walking in front of their very house, and these folks, there's no police to be found, and the only way that they could find to protect themselves was by reaching for a firearm and ordering them off their property. Those things, people see that and they repel at those images. And I think that this movement that many Democratic mayors and many Democratic governors are basically encouraging by looking the other way, or in fact actively working to defund the police department, to dismantle them in the case of Minneapolis, to cut out $1 billion of funding from the New York City Police Department, to make a similar cut to that of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, which is responsible for the protection of one of the largest school systems in the country. That thing, those kinds of cuts simply do not resonate with the vast majority of Americans who understand that in order for our society to remain a civilized society, we have to have law and order. Okay? We have to have a police presence. We have to have those men and women in blue that go out there and do the dirty work that most of us, quite frankly, don't want to do, are incapable of doing, and simply, you know, they're the sheepdogs that are out there protecting the rest of us from some very nasty forces that are out there. This is insanity. This is simply insanity what's going on in this country right now in terms of these movements to defund police, to dismantle police forces, to replace them with social workers for quote-unquote non-violent calls. So the next time there's a domestic disturbance, you're going to send a social worker to basically go into that household and try and figure out what this discord is that's going on between husband and wife. Those types of situations can very quickly deteriorate into violent confrontations. And the idea that you're going to send a social worker to resolve those kinds of problems is just absolute lunacy. So I'm very disappointed with what we've been seeing this past week, a continuation of what we've been seeing for several weeks now. As I've said before, there are other forces at work here. This is no longer about racial equality. This is no longer about George Floyd. This is taking on, you know, national implications. It's about an election. It's about rewriting American history. It's about changing our values. It's about eliminating capitalism. It's about imposing a completely different system on Americans. And I think Americans are going to reject that. I hope they reject that in November, because if they don't, quite frankly, this is going to be a much different place. And I think you're going to see this violence continue and escalate to a level unlike anything we've seen, certainly in my lifetime, even more so than what we've seen these last couple of weeks. Some other important news this week. And again, I carry with me here in my pocket my handy dandy little mask. I encourage all of you to wear them when you're out going into restaurants or into supermarkets. We've had a resurgence of COVID-19 here in the state of Florida, particularly in South Florida. On Thursday, Florida reported 10,109 new cases of COVID-19, a single-day record for the state of Florida. This is serious, folks. You know, we're beginning to see the economy start to improve, but we cannot allow this disease, as COVID-19, to set us back on our heels again. I'm not in complete agreement with the idea of wearing these things when you're out and about, you know, far away from people, walking a dog, you're nowhere near anybody. I know here in the county, the mayor has imposed regulations that we're supposed to be wearing these at all times in public. I disagree with that, but I think that they're absolutely essential when you go into a restaurant, when you go into a supermarket. And look, forget about freedom or not freedom or you know, libertarianism or whatever it is. As I've said before, to me, this is just common courtesy. We know that there are people out there that are vulnerable to COVID-19, particularly our elderly. We live in a society. Being a member of a civilized society it makes it incumbent on all of us to act civilized. And one of the things that we can do, even if we hate it, even if we despise it, I don't know anybody that likes to wear these things, but please wear this mask if you go into a supermarket, if you go into a restaurant. If you want to follow the mayor's recommendation and wear it at all times, that's your prerogative. You know, that's what he's saying should be done. I don't think it's necessary, but again, you know, he's the mayor, I'm not. A couple other interesting items that came out, and I mentioned this with regards to the mask. We are seeing the economy slowly begin to recover. We saw the news, 4.8 million new jobs created in America. The unemployment rate that was over 13% has now dropped to 11.1%, much better than what analysts were expecting. They were expecting to see the unemployment rate drop to around 12.4%. Instead, we're at 11.1%. That's still an enormous number of people that are out of jobs in America, but we're headed in the right direction. So let's not be stupid. Let's wear these masks. Let's try and make sure we keep the lid on COVID-19, particularly in a state like ours that is so dependent on tourism for our economy to progress. You saw earlier this week another very important thing. We'll be talking about it with one of our guests in a moment. The Supreme Court, led by Chief Justice Roberts, who basically joined the liberals of the court in a decision to lift some restrictions on abortion providers in the state of Louisiana. For the life of me, I still don't really understand why abortion is even a federal issue. I've yet to see in the Bill of Rights where Americans are guaranteed a right to an abortion. I understand that it's probably, part of our privacy rights, et cetera, but I really do believe that this whole issue of abortion is an enormous sort of cultural division that we have in America, and it really should be left to the states to decide what is right for their communities, what is right for how folks feel in their particular states. But that's my opinion. Thank you for being with us. We're going to take a quick commercial break here, and then we'll be back with our speakers. Thank you again for being with us.
Understanding your microbiome can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Ultimate Microbiome by Youngevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Super Greens is a one-of-a-kind blend that's loaded with hard-to-find nutrient-dense superfoods. We've used what we've learned from our more than 20 years working with mineral-based nutrition to create one of the healthiest, plant-based nutritional products available. Each superfood was carefully selected so that it complements and enhances the others, helping to maximize Super Greens' nutritional power. Next, we added a specialized fermentation technique to increase the bioavailability of each superfood. Finally, we put in powerful probiotics and enzymes for added digestive support to give you jam-packed nutritional support. Youngevity Super Greens, the highly alkalinizing super supplement that helps balance your body. It's the superfood-powered way to get more organic fruits and veggies in your day, all in just one scoop. Check with your Youngevity distributor to learn more.
It's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Youngevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Welcome back to Moscow Mas. Thank you for sticking with us. My first guest today is Yi-Chao Chang. Yi-Chao Chang is the press secretary for an organization called Responsible Citizens of California. It is an advocacy group protecting the Second Amendment in California, or as some of us like to call it, behind enemy lines in the People's Republic of California. one of the most anti-gun states in the country. And Yi Chao Chang is the press secretary for that organization, has been very involved in defending the Second Amendment. But more than that, you know, Yi Chao is very well versed in history, political theory. He's a businessman. He works in the firearms industry as a model. He has done a lot of different things in his life, has a vast array of experiences. And I always enjoy hearing his writings, primarily on LinkedIn is where I see him most often, but somebody who is very well versed with what's going on in the political scene in America. And I welcome him onto the program. He's in San Francisco, like I said, on the West Coast, behind enemy lines, if you will. And Yi Chao, welcome to the program, and thank you for being with us today.
Hey, Raul, it's an honor and a privilege for me to be on your program. You know, thank you so much for inviting me.
Terrific. So listen, you're in that madness called the San Francisco Bay Area. And we saw that finally the mayor of Seattle ordered that the CHOP or the CHAZ or whatever you want to call it, the autonomous zone in the Capitol Hill area of Seattle, be cleared out by police. It took her a while, but apparently she didn't care for the mob showing up at her front door. What's your view on what happened there?
You know, for me, you know, if I'm going to speak frankly, you know, I mean, it's just another example of left-wing hypocrisy, right? I mean, you know, when you've got the CHOP or the CHAZ, the you know, the occupiers, you want to call them activists, that's fine, but really they're the occupiers who are, you know, in that area, you know, declaring that to be an autonomous zone, I guess, a separate nation, so to speak. And, you know, a lot of the people that you hear who are business owners there or who, you know, live nearby, you know, they basically felt like they were held hostage, you know, after the entire situation was dismantled. Basically, we have, you know, interviews where we see, you know, some of the residents who came out and, you know, basically said that they felt like, you know, they were, you know, they were afraid to speak out. They were afraid to, you know, cause any ripples in, you know, the political reality that was going on over there, because, you know, they had like 5 separate shootings where, you know, people were literally shot. You know,
Yeah.
they had people
Well,
killed.
One of them died,
Or
apparently.
show up on
My
day
understanding
one,
is that
you
one of
know,
them died. One of them died, I believe.
Yeah, actually, you know, several of them died, you know, and obviously, you know, as far as, you know, these lives were concerned, you know, the mayor of Seattle wasn't too concerned about them until, you know, the mob showed up at her, you know, at her doorstep. And now all of a sudden, the very next day, you know, she dismantles the entire thing. And it just kind of goes to show you that, you know, when it comes to, you know, some of the loud volume of, we'll call it support. You know, we could probably use another word, but we'll call it support. And when it comes to the public support, a lot of these politicians who, you know, hail from the left will publicly support something, but as soon as it shows up in their, you know, front yard or backyard, so to speak, you know, that support disappears. You know, it's funny how that works.
So what's happening in California? I mean, I read where the LA Sheriff's Department responsible for the security of the schools in LA, which I believe is probably the most populous school system in the country, if I'm not mistaken, or certainly in the top 2 or 3. Having $1 billion removed from their budget. The police chief resigned. Apparently, you know, he realizes he's not going to be able to do his job with such a drastic cut to their budget. Is that also happening in other parts of California in terms of the whole defund the police movement? Are you seeing it in San Francisco and in Central California?
Yeah, you know, I mean, out here in, in Central California, you know, the politics are different, right? There's more red areas out in Central California, but as far as San Francisco goes, and you know, down south, you know, you're getting a lot of you know, people who still theoretically support defund the police, you know, politically, but they're also seeing, you know, the reality of what, you know, these calls for, you know, having a lower or eliminated police presence actually brings, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, out here, even in some of the richer suburbs, you know, in San Francisco, Antifa, you know, probably 3 or 4 weeks ago decided to, you know, go out to the suburbs and start, you know, causing some of that mayhem and havoc that they had done in some of the bigger cities, you know, out here as well as throughout the rest of the country. And it really scared a lot of people. A lot of people were really rattled, you know, and out here in California, it's not like over in Florida, where people have a lot of guns. A lot of the people here are vehemently anti-gun, and they didn't have a gun to defend themselves with. So you got a lot of really successful people, who had concerns about their own personal safety, who have kids, who live in these nice, comfortable, protected, sheltered suburbs, and all of a sudden now their safety and well-being is under threat, and they have no means with which to protect themselves. And at this point, a lot of the police, to be honest, they have trouble protecting themselves, much less anybody else. So
Yeah.
when you call 911 and no one's going to show up to your house, or maybe show up too late, or they're trying to burn down your house for some reason, it shakes people up down to their core.
Sure.
So
Moving
you're
a little
seeing
bit
lot
into the
of,
theoretical realm, you mentioned something to me that in California there is an effort to basically do away with the Civil Rights Act of 1964. I mean, what is that about? I mean, explain to me what's going on there in this, what is it, Proposition 209?
So Proposition 209 was passed in 1996, which basically outlawed affirmative action here in California. Now, obviously, the left wants to reestablish that, and they, honestly have found ways around it anyway this entire time. But they want to basically capitalize on today's political environment to put down a proposition. So it's basically Proposition 13 that's going to basically strike down Section 31, Article 1 of the California Constitution. And they're just basically going to strike out lines that say, the state shall not discriminate against or grant preferential treatment to any individual or group on the basis of race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin. These are the basic fundamental principles of equality that have been established in our republic, and they've been established since at least the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So they're essentially trying to strip the protections that fall under that landmark case.
But it sounds sort of counterintuitive. Why is that? I mean, what are they seeking to accomplish in doing that?
Well, the left for years has been trying to move away from this concept of equality, right? I mean, you and I always value the quality of opportunity, right?
Correct.
The ability for you and I to be on the same playing field, and based on our individual efforts, our energy that we put in there, our thinking, our strategic ability to take reality and bend it, so to speak, to give ourselves and our loved ones a better life. They're looking at that and they're saying, we don't really want much more of that. We want what they call equity. Equity is the equality of result. We'll just put it that way. Their vision of saying, no matter how much effort you put in, no matter how intelligent you are, no matter how hard you work, you will in effect have the same result as everybody else who may not have invested as much, effort or intelligence or initiative to try to make a better life for yourself, right? So it's this equity versus equality that they're trying to focus on, and that in and of itself, if you take a look at, that's the essence of what socialism is. Right?
That's what I was going to say. I mean, it sounds like the two are interchangeable, quite frankly. This movement for equity sounds to be a movement towards socialism. And, as you and I have also talked about, if you look at, for example, the folks behind Black Lives Matter, I mean, they're basically avowed Marxists. They make no bones about it. We had a fellow in the program last week who's a subject matter expert on Marxism, and he explained very clearly, what that's all about. And it absolutely has nothing to do with individual effort. It has basically to do with redistribution of wealth and make sure that everybody gets the same result, no matter how hard you work or how talented you are. Everybody's going to basically end up, making the same amount of money, living in the same house, driving the same car, because that's what socialism is all about, right? I mean, it's the Robin Hood approach: take from the rich, give to the poor, and make everybody suffer, not just a few at the bottom.
Yeah, absolutely right. But even beyond that, I mean, let's look 2 inches beyond our own faces here, right? If you take a look at this law and you strike through, the protections that are afforded underneath the, Civil Rights Act of 1964, right now they want to raise up, Black and brown communities, right? So they want to do that. But what's the majority, demographic, racial demographic here in America? I mean, even here in California, it's not as obviously there's a higher density of minorities out here, but even out here, it's still, over 50%.
Right.
Okay. So what's to prevent somebody else, maybe years from now, from seizing power, seeing that you no longer have to treat every race, equally, and somehow manage to once again discriminate based on the color of your skin, and if you happen to be you favor white people or favor Asian people or some other race, we're going to end up sitting here with basically a political environment that mirrored prior to 1964, where you might have white supremacy or any other type of undesirable type of political reality here in the United States, right here in California. You can't be having, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right, Raul? You're sitting here trying to raise up, some communities that are, let's say, economically disadvantaged, but what you don't see is, beyond what you're doing in terms of writing this law, in terms of being able to apply the law equally across all people, it could have some unintended consequences that could be disastrous down the road. Sure. So people really need to understand that and really kind of see beyond what's really right in front of them and see beyond, how they're emotionally feeling at any given moment in time. The law really needs to be applied objectively. Critical thinkers need to debate these laws on both sides of the equation and then come to, a conclusion for the entire public that's best for society. And that's really not happening here. And they're basically trying to slide, Proposition 13, kind of underneath everybody's noses and, call it affirmative action. What it is a disintegration or dismantling of the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Yichao, one last question, so we've got to wrap up here. What is your sense in terms of the election in November? I mean, I got to believe that even in crazy California, some Democrats and some leftists have to be scratching their heads and saying, what the heck is going on here, man? I mean, is this really the way that we want the country to move forward?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I have, friends that are, that hail from all of the entire political spectrum, right? So all the way from the extreme right, all the way to the extreme left. And I can tell you that, since I'm so involved in politics, you have everybody except for the leftists you find typically in Berkeley or San Francisco. Everybody else other than them, they're basically telling me quite quietly that, hey, they're voting for Trump. This is
Wow.
They can't have half the country looking like Sarajevo. That's just not the way it's going to end up being.
That's a good analogy, Sarajevo, right? All right,
Yeah.
Terrific. Thank you, Yichao. Appreciate you taking time out from your busy schedule, talking to us about what's going on in the People's Republic of California. Stay safe, my friend. Watch your six, and hope to have you back on the program sometime soon.
Absolutely. It's been an honor and a privilege, Raul. Have a great day.
Have a good day.
CardioBeats from Youngevity supports a healthy cardiovascular system and helps supply the nutrients your body needs to support better physical endurance. Your capacity to last a little longer is largely based on how well your cardiovascular system expends oxygen and circulates blood through your body. CardioBeats helps combat the oxidative stress caused by physical activity by supplying you with key nutrients that support your cardiovascular system. These nutrients have also been shown to help improve endurance. CardioBeats starts with organic beets, a rich source of nitrates to support healthy blood flow and oxygen transport. We've added whole foods from highly bioavailable seaweed and mango fruit, both known for blood flow support, and antioxidant-rich sweet cherries. Then, for even more heart health benefits, we finished it off with key amino acids. Take your physical endurance to the next level with CardioBeats. Talk to your Youngevity associate for more information.
As you age, factors like health, weight, diet, and lifestyle can all impact your bones, joints, and general mobility. Over time, you might start to experience stiffness or pain due to damaged joints or connective tissue. Ultimate Glucogel by Youngevity was created to help you limit the effects of wear on your joints. It delivers a daily dose of collagen-rich gelatin your body needs for joint elasticity and maintenance. Ultimate Glucogel contains a 1-to-1 ratio of gelatin and glucosamine sulfate, which is a key building block of your bone matrix, cartilage, ligaments, tendons, and connective tissue. Gelatin's unique blend of amino acids not only help with muscle and joint health, but also has been shown to provide additional benefits for the brain, skin, and hair. Ultimate Glucogel. Natural, optimal daily support for joint health. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Understanding your microbiome can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Ultimate Microbiome by Youngevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us here on Mas con Mas. Appreciate your support and appreciate your watching this program. My next guest is an attorney by the name of Tom Spencer. Tom has been on this program before. He is a very savvy and experienced corporate attorney, has also been very involved in national politics and policy matters in the intelligence community, things of that sort, and really enjoy listening to Tom's opinion on a wide variety of different subjects. And welcome back to the show. Tom, thank you for being with us, and welcome back.
Thank you very much. It's great to be with you.
Terrific. So, Tom, you noticed earlier this week the Supreme Court decision in the case of Louisiana dealing with sort of restrictions on abortion providers in that state. Chief Justice Roberts sided with the liberals and basically said that Louisiana could not impose on those doctors running those abortion providers the necessity of having hospital privileges within a 30-mile radius of that clinic. How do you view that decision? It seems to me that they weren't really talking about abortion. They were talking about the health standards associated with a medical provider in the state of Louisiana. How do you view the whole thing?
Well, I think that this falls into the category of what people who are interested in constitutional law call it Roberts hash. It's a hash of legal analysis. And the case is June Medical versus Russo. And basically what happened was that Louisiana has a law, like Texas, which said that for the purposes of abortion, doctors had to have admitting privileges within a certain radius of where the abortion was going to take place. And the reason for that was to protect the life of the person who was having the abortion because things go wrong. Mm-hmm. And so some providers of abortion went to court and litigated the issue, and it went all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States, and the Supreme Court held that it was an undue burden for the person who is having the abortion to be subjected to that, and therefore struck it on a 5-4 decision where Roberts sided with the liberals. The problem is that in a case that was almost identical involving Texas, in a previous case where Roberts was involved, he sided with the other side of the argument and said that it was not an undue burden. And also, in addition, the people who were suing didn't have standing to sue because they weren't having the abortion. They were abortion providers. And under federal law, constitutional law, only the person with standing to sue, that is the person who is actually going to be harmed, can go to court. So in that case, he dissented. The Texas case, he dissented on that very grounds and said shouldn't be in court. The Texas statute should stand, and he wrote a big dissent. And of course, the case went the other way because Trump wasn't in office yet, and there was a different kind of configuration of the court. But in this case, he took exactly the opposite position. And when challenged by virtue of this legal hash of why he was arguing on both sides of the street, he said, well, you know, in the Texas case where I dissented, it's true that it's the same proposition, but we have to adhere to our precedents. And since that was a Supreme Court decision and was a precedent under the doctrine of stare decisis, which is just a big term, which means precedent, we've got to adhere to our precedents, even though I dissented in the other one. So it was a political decision, clearly, because he did not want to venture into the area of abortion rights. He does not want to put the Supreme Court in the position of having to rule on whether or not they're going to overrule their previous decisions saying that an abortion is a constitutional right, because that will be a big blowout in our society.
But Tom, what happened?
Everybody lined up.
What happened to the whole concept of impartiality, right? I mean, you know, the idea, you know, that famous sort of image of, you know, Lady Justice, you know, holding the scales of justice and she's blindfolded. You know, what's happened to that blindfold? I mean, it seems to me, you know, as I think you alluded to it, and something I saw you write once is, you know, we have politicians now, in essence, wearing, you know, judicial robes in many cases, or acting like, you know, judges that are acting like politicians. That's not their job. I mean, their job is to basically interpret the laws, and as you know, I think Roberts himself has said, you know, is to call balls and call strikes, you know, or maybe that's Gorsuch. Maybe I'm getting confused here, but that's their job. You know, it's not to, you know, try and favor one political viewpoint or the winds of politics at any particular point in time.
Well, first of all, you're right. That's what Roberts said. And as a matter of fact, he castigated Trump when Trump said that, you know, there are Trump judges and there are Obama judges. And Roberts went bananas over that and castigated him and said there is no such thing. They're all just hardworking people. But I have to argue that that whole concept that judges are, not what they're supposed to be, but are, neutrals and robes, I think is a fairy tale. I think it's always been a fairy tale. And, you know, if you go back in history, you'll see that many, many times the Supreme Court and other courts in the federal system, state system, have made political decisions, have made social decisions, have made legislative decisions, and have disguised it in very wonderful wording and legal concepts and very complicated analyses and steps, et cetera, to say that this is a judicial decision when in fact it's a political decision. I mean, we could start, you know, with Plessy versus Ferguson, you know, separate but equal schools. I mean, that was a real contortion of law. Right. How about Korematsu versus the United States of America, where, you know, all of the Japanese American citizens of the United States were put into concentration camps.
Right.
And that was deemed by a unanimous Supreme Court to be constitutional. So we have these things, and unfortunately, what's happened is that because the United States is so divided politically, and we have these left-wing radical people, we have these law schools that teach law students, and basically it percolates into judges, that they're supposed to be involved in social justice, and when they interpret the law and the Constitution, they're supposed to look at it from a living constitutional point of view, not the original intent, not the wording, but to sort of, make it sort of palatable to all of the people, so that we don't have, a revolution or a civil war or anything like that, and so that the judiciary doesn't look bad. And that is exactly what many of us believe has happened to Justice Roberts and the Roberts-Hash theory of making decisions, that he does not want the institution of the Supreme Court to be involved in monumental changes in American society. So, we could start, if we have time, to talk a little bit about, his history of doing this.
Sure.
And we could start with the Obamacare decision, where he ruled that the mandate of requiring for the first time in American history that people would be fined for not getting health insurance, fined for not doing something, was actually a tax, and therefore was constitutional and was legal. It was a revolutionary decision, but it was designed to make sure that Obamacare wasn't deemed to be unconstitutional.
That was a contortion of unspeakable sort of proportions, if you will. I mean, to basically rule that that a penalty was basically somehow the same thing as the congressional power to tax was absolutely outrageous in my mind. Tom, one last question for you. The Supreme Court justices are appointed for life, right? And supposedly they're appointed for life because you want to isolate them from this sort of political pressure. Is that a mistake? I mean, what sort of reforms, or any, would you like to see to the judicial system in order to make sure that there is an increased adherence to the founder's intent, the documents, and a strict interpretation of the law?
Well, I think that for me, the only change I would make is that at some point in time, there should be an age limit with regard to the judicial life, so to speak, in term. Because, you look at Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I mean, clearly her clerks are writing those decisions, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And as you know, there are rumors that Justice Alito, who's 70 years old, might retire. That's kind of rampant rumor right now.
Right.
Those of us who are Federalists hope not,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
because there's a big firestorm going on in that court. But I think that would be the limit that I would do. I wouldn't make it easier to impeach a judge for their decisions. I think that we need to make some changes and tweaks with regard to the Ninth Circuit and other circuits. We could do that politically and make it fairer.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to have a judiciary, you can't make them subject to the will of an election that comes up to every 2 years. Otherwise, we're going to make it worse.
Yep. Well, listen. We live in an imperfect country, right? These are the imperfections that we face on a day-to-day basis. I mean, we're seeing it not just in the judiciary, but we're seeing it in the legislative branch with this incredible dissent that we have going on right now in Congress. It's an imperfect system, but it's probably the best system that's been designed so far. and it's worked pretty well for 244 years so far. So hopefully we can continue it a little bit longer, at least through my lifetime and yours, Tom, and hopefully through our children and our grandchildren as well and beyond. But, we're living in turbulent times. We've got to protect the institutions of America, even though, they're not always the best way as we see it. It's important to protect those institutions.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And maybe sometime after the term is up and all these decisions have been rendered this term, we can have another session and go through some of the other cases that are very important that probably your listeners have not heard about and don't understand, but they impact them directly.
Happy to do so, Tom. Send me a list of those and we'll plan for that. Appreciate you being on the program again, Tom.
More and more healthcare professionals and people seeking alternative and natural health treatments are turning to hemp-based products because of the growing body of research supporting its benefits. Youngevity has leveraged our years of natural plant-based nutritional research to introduce 3 new products. Hemp FX Soothe helps support muscles and joints by enhancing a healthy immune response and reducing free radical stress. For optimal results, it contains our hemp-derived CBD plus the powerful antioxidant glutathione. Hemp FX Relax helps ease the mind and the body for a deep and restful sleep. We combined our hemp-derived CBD with melatonin to help support your best night's sleep. To help support positive energy for your mind and your mood, we created Hemp FX Uplift. In combination with St. John's wort and a specialized set of terpenes and cannabinoid enhancers. To learn more about Hemp FX, contact your Youngevity distributor or visit hempfx.com.
A strong heart is a happy heart. Your body's systems depend on a healthy cardiovascular system to thrive. Without a healthy heart, you could experience symptoms like fatigue, aches and pains, dizziness, or shortness of breath. Youngevity developed Ultimate EFA Plus with a proprietary balanced blend of essential fatty acids. We started with flaxseed oil. It's been shown to improve the elasticity of arteries and support healthy blood pressure. Next, we included cold water fish oils, rich in omega-3s that can promote a healthy cardiovascular system and even increase levels of good HDL cholesterol. Then we added borage oil, known for its powerful anti-inflammatory properties. Blended together, these essential fatty acids provide you with the optimal blend of nutrients to help maintain normal cardiovascular health. Ultimate EFA Plus, the right nutrients to improve your heart health naturally. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
CardioBeats from Youngevity supports a healthy cardiovascular system and helps supply the nutrients your body needs to support better physical endurance. Your capacity to last a little longer is largely based on how well your cardiovascular system expends oxygen and circulates blood through your body. CardioBeats helps combat the oxidative stress caused by physical activity by supplying you with key nutrients that support your cardiovascular system. These nutrients have also been shown to help improve endurance. CardioBeats starts with organic beets, a rich source of nitrates to support healthy blood flow and oxygen transport. We've added whole foods from highly bioavailable seaweed and mango fruit, both known for blood flow support, and antioxidant-rich sweet cherries. Then, for even more heart health benefits, we finished it off with key amino acids. Take your physical endurance to the next level with CardioBeats. Talk to your Youngevity associate for more information.
As you age, factors like health, weight, diet, and lifestyle can all impact your bones, joints, and general mobility. Over time, you might start to experience stiffness or pain due to damaged joints or connective tissue. Ultimate Glucogel by Youngevity was created to help you limit the effects of wear on your joints. It delivers a daily dose of collagen-rich gelatin your body needs for joint elasticity and maintenance. Ultimate Glucogel contains a 1-to-1 ratio of gelatin and glucosamine sulfate, which is a key building block of your bone matrix, cartilage, ligaments, tendons, and connective tissue. Gelatin's unique blend of amino acids not only help with muscle and joint health, but also has been shown to provide additional benefits for the brain, skin, and hair. Ultimate Glucogel. Natural, optimal daily support for joint health. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Welcome back to Más con Más. I want to thank again the show's sponsors, including Café Cachita, Youngevity, Grimal Joyeria, who make this show possible. Thank you, and thank you, the viewer, for listening to us. I want to close with a few quick observations. Number one, as many of you know, tomorrow is July 4th, the Independence Day celebration here in the United States of America. For 244 years, our system of governance has worked pretty well. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but we enjoy some freedoms that few people in the world enjoy. We have constantly strived and worked hard to make this a better and more equitable society. It's taken us a while to get there. Some people would argue that we're still not there, and I don't necessarily disagree with them. We can always better ourselves as a society. But for 244 years, this country has done a pretty good job of being a shining light, a beacon to the rest of the world on how so many different people from so many different parts of the world can come together in that melting pot and enjoy certain benefits, certain freedoms that are hard to find in most other places of the world, and the country that allows those individuals incredible opportunities to succeed depending on their own talents and hard work. And create these enormous industries that we've seen here in the U.S. And in some cases, global leaders that we've seen in a variety of different industries. That is unique to America. It is what makes this country very special, and I hope that we're able to continue it for another 244 years, if not longer. I want to close the program on a somewhat sad note. You may have seen, even though it didn't really receive much national attention, but we lost a beautiful young woman a couple months ago in Texas. She's a U.S. Army soldier. Her name is Vanessa Guillen. We're going to show a photograph of her here. She was murdered 2 months ago by a coworker, and it's taken a while to find out, what happened to her. Earlier this week, her body was discovered. The killer had gone to great lengths to conceal her body, and that perhaps is one of the reasons why it took so long to find her body. The perpetrator apparently committed suicide as the police and Army investigators were closing in on him. But this is a terribly tragic situation. The military profession is a hazardous profession as is. Soldiers should feel safe in their military facilities. And in the case of Vanessa, something went wrong. There is an investigation that the Army is doing right now to find out whether her accusations of sexual harassment were indeed true, if the leadership of the base had listened to her. There appears to be some conflicting evidence there. But at the end of the day, we lost a soldier here, Vanessa Guillen, who, was in the care of the United States Army. And the fact that she was murdered on base and then have her body transported off base and have been, missing for such a long period of time really has rattled a lot of people, myself included. I pray for her family and friends that the good Lord brings them some peace and comfort during this very difficult time. It is something that is terribly tragic, and again, it has not received enough attention, and I think that's wrong. Anytime we lose an American soldier under situations as horrific as this, we need to take a pause and take a look at an institution that we all value and love, which is our United States military, and make sure that everything is being done to protect our soldiers that are entrusted to our Army, our Air Force, Marine Corps, Navy, and Coast Guard. I think the military leadership takes that very, very seriously, but unfortunately, in this case, we were unable to save her. Anyway, sorry to sort of leave you with that thought. Tomorrow again is July 4th. We're still living in the greatest country in America. Thank you for being with us on this program this evening, and say a prayer for the family of Vanessa Gillen this evening. Take care. Bye-bye.